Hey, what's up, everybody? Welcome to another edition of Established Run's NBA Injury Report Analysis Show. I'm Drew Dinkmeyer, joined by Mike Gallagher. We've got a huge 10-game slate on tap here, a ton of teams on back-to-backs. So it is going to be wild and crazy. The information is going to fly fast and furious, as you can see. Also from the schedule, a lot of these games are on the earlier side, too. You've got one 7 o'clock Eastern game, three 7:30 Eastern games, four more 8 o'clock Eastern games. So basically, 70% of the schedule is in that first, hour after lock. So a lot of the news is going to fly really, really fast. Got some great games. Oh, I'm actually looking at the calendar for Wednesday, February 16th. You have us fast forwarded.
Oh, what the heck am I doing? Yeah,
you have us fast forwarded to the All-Star break.
Yeah,
I was like, I think the games are even earlier. Yeah.
So, sorry, man.
So there's three 7 o'clock Eastern games, two 7:30 Eastern games, two 8 o'clock Eastern games, and then you get a little bit of a gap after that Memphis San Antonio game into the last games. But basically, 7 to 10 games are going to be in that first hour after lock. A lot of back-to-backs, a lot of shaky injury reporting. So we'll see a lot of teams with shaky injury reporting history on the schedule tonight. So we'll see how it goes. But let's start with what we know, which there's still some stuff that we don't know. There's still some teams that haven't filed, and we might or they filed injury reports that we're not so sure of, that we're a little skeptical of. So let's start with what we do know. On the questionable side, let's start with Toronto. Fred VanVleet and Scotty Barnes both missed last night's game. They play Chicago tonight. Obviously, we've seen Nick Nurse go super, super tight on the rotations when he has his main guys. When he doesn't, as we alluded to yesterday, you can see sort of him trying a few minutes here and there with guys left and right. And so they kept it real tight last night. Siakam was point Siakam and really in a huge ball handling role. So his upside is obviously immense in the absence of VanVleet and Barnes if they both miss again. Also noting Gary Trent Jr. led the team in usage last night, and I think that's a function of Siakam handling the ball more and them needing kind of more creation from Siakam. So his usage rate takes a little bit of a dip, and VanVleet's role gets filled kind of by Gary Trent Jr. We saw how they played last night without these two guys. Do you think we get them back tonight?
I think we get VanVleet back. That struck me more of as back-to-back rest, get him in better shape to be ready to play here. Scotty Barnes is a little trickier. Got kind of a late addition. Nick Nurse said he couldn't go to shoot around in the morning, and he woke up with wrist soreness. So that's usually a multiple day thing. Never know. He's young, so maybe he feels better today. But I feel like VanVleet's out there. Also, just to add on Nurse, he said they were almost going to start Delano Banton, but they decided to go big here. And you see Justin Champagnie got ejected, so he only saw 4 minutes. So that got kind of Malachi Flynn into the rotation. So basically, if you're thinking about it, don't look at Malachi. I think Champagnie and Banton are both clearly ahead of Flynn, despite the minutes being a little bit wide. Yeah, you mentioned point Siakam, 17 potential assists, just massive ball handling, bringing the ball up after makes, bringing the ball up after his rebounds. I've been saying for weeks now, he's like LeBron with his role, and that's certainly true. With this usage and overall, he's just such a beast right now. But FAV come down a little bit, but expect him to be really, really involved here.
Yeah, and we saw them go with the super big lineup, right? Without VanVleet and Barnes. We had suggested if they were without just VanVleet, we thought Barnes would shift to the point guard spot, and we thought Precious Achiuwa would be the starting center. Boucher ends up sliding into the starting role as well with Barnes and VanVleet out. They went really, really big. You look at that lineup, and it's basically like Siakam at the 2 or the 3. I mean, Anunoby at the 2 or the 3. These are huge, huge lineups. And against a Bulls team that's very small, just generally, they don't have a lot of size to them. This could be really interesting to see how this plays out. The Bulls have lost a lot of their size. Patrick Williams, Derrick Jones Jr., Lonzo Ball. They don't really often play a backup center, so it'll be really, really interesting to see how this shakes out with this particular matchup and how the Bulls might have to adjust, because we know the Raptors are going to play big. Nurse only has so much confidence in these guys that he's going to play.
Yeah, I wouldn't be surprised if I think they're comfortable putting OG on DeMar, and then Trent would be on Levine, and they can kind of figure the rest out. They don't really need any other defenders, honestly, despite Ayo being kind of a baller. But I mean, they might. That's why kind of my point is if they're both out, I think that they're okay. I think they'd be way more likely to start Banton and then put him on at IO. But I mean, they might just start big again and go, just leave a tall dude on IO or something, or I don't know. But I think Banton's a little bit more likely to start in this matchup versus the one yesterday with a lot of like bigger wings on the Hornets there. So just kind of something to keep in mind there. And then also, as you mentioned, like they actually announced they were going to start Scotty as the point guard, and then he got hurt and ruled out. So he would probably start if he goes again.
One thing to note there with the matchup too, the Bulls are a team that get a lot of their production through the mid-range game, and just having a lot of length out there to distract the mid-range is tough. Like the Bulls aren't a team that are prepared to just drive and kick you to death with 3-point shooting, because they don't have a lot of it on their team. They have a lot of isolation play, so all those long arms kind of in the middle of the floor probably will be a fairly challenging spot for the Bulls guys tonight, even though there will be a ton of opportunity. Okay. Let's go to the other side of that game last night was Gordon Hayward, who's questionable once again tonight for Charlotte. They play Indiana. This is one where you feel that it's likely that Gordon Hayward is unable to play and make the hometown return to Indiana.
Yeah, I mean, foot discomfort, right? Borrego said over the weekend he's going to miss time. He's been listed as questionable the last 2 games, hasn't warmed up. I mean, there's really nothing to make you think that he has a shot. They're talking about maybe he plays, but it certainly seems hopeful at best. So I think he sits. I think we get, Cody Martin getting the Karis LeVert assignment. We saw PJ Washington get ejected as well. So you saw a little bit of extended minutes for James Bouknight, a little bit more for Oubre, who's been in a little bit of a slump. Lamelo kind of came through for the most part there, but I don't think Hayward's going to play again. And it's an early game, so we'll know.
Yeah, and as you see there, they are willing to still play those kind of condensed rotations. Mason Plumlee getting up to 32 minutes last night, indication against the Raptors' big lineups that they might have to. I mean, obviously PJ Washington getting tossed helped that immensely, but they also might be willing to let their big guys run a little bit more against bigger opponents. Certainly Indiana without Sabonis and Turner are not as big as they used to be, but still with Goga Bitadze, they're going to play a true center there all the time. So we could see Plumlee's minutes increase a little bit as well. Yeah,
really nothing to add on the Indiana side, but just to knock this out really quick. They finally broke out O'Shea Brissett as a center. That hadn't happened until Sabonis got hurt, and that was basically because Goga got in a foul trouble against Valanciunas. So in this spot, now that they broke it out, I think they may be a little bit more likely to maybe go that route. So that could take a little bit of upside off Goga, but I do like the matchup for Goga here.
Yeah. Talking about centers, let's move to Orlando, where Mo Bamba is questionable. Orlando finally starting to get a little bit healthier of late. They obviously got Jalen Suggs back, about a week ago. Wendell Carter Jr. has been, coming back of late. Now the question mark with Mo Bamba, who's been in and off the injury report of late. What are your thoughts on his availability tonight?
Yeah, listen, with an ankle sprain, it's the same ankle that cost him time before he went out with COVID, but he's going to be okay to play. So that's worth noting. So, early reports say he's going to be available, so should be out there. Probably a little cap. We've seen his minutes kind of come up a little bit, but I think they'll be cautious there. And then also just to tie in with the Magic here, Gary Harris and Terrence Ross should be back, but I think they're going to start the lineup they started in the last game based on comments from Jamal Mosley saying that they really want to get a look at this lineup. He likes the chemistry. He was really comfortable with it. Obviously, they played really well against. I mean, look at all these pluses right here for most of these guys before Bamba got hurt. So I think they want to kind of take a look at that lineup. And also, Mo Bogdan was awesome. So he would probably get the non-Bamba minutes. So maybe a little sneaky if he gets 20 minutes there. I assume he's pretty close to min. And against the Clippers team that's kind of struggling at times. But I would expect Cole and Suggs pick up a pretty big run. And the last couple games, this isn't injury related, but Suggs has taken over. The usage and the ball handling, it's totally flipped. He's beat him in potential assists, drives, and touch time by a good margin in the last 2 games. Suggs is really, really kind of turning on out of the blue after being a complete dud for the first 2 months of the season before he got hurt too.
Certainly could be some situations where they're trying to get deeper looks at him running the offense as opposed to Cole and different things like that. It's really small samples, so who knows?
2 games, but
it also could be just random game flow. So we'll continue to monitor that. On the Bamba side, they did say that they expect him to be available to play tonight. Still listed on the injury report, but wanted to cover it there. Jared Allen for Cleveland, he is questionable again tonight. Missed the last game. Big opportunity in his place. Kevin Love stepped up made a ton of threes. Cash Garland assist bets basically single-handedly for him, just popping in threes left and right for us. Matchup against the Bucks tonight is one where you would certainly want the rim protection of Jared Allen. It would really be a big detriment to Cleveland if they were unable to play with him. But you saw they started Ed Davis last game. He was out there to take his fouls and kind of, work his way through. Not a high usage player, not a player that's going to soak up a lot of possessions. So you saw a lot of the possessions run through Garland, Mobley, even Okoro's usage rate kind of spiked last game as well. Do we think Jared Allen is back tonight?
Yeah, illness, right? So we never really know. The last time he was ill, it took him an inordinate amount of time to get back. So maybe he doesn't play. We'll get more information. And worth noting as well that a couple things. One, Jared Allen guarded Giannis in the first matchup. And then number two, Ed Davis was actually Julius Randle's primary, which is interesting, which is probably good. You see the Mobley boards. He's been kind of like rarely hitting that double-double, but like that's great. If they do put Ed Davis in the Giannis role, or Allen or whoever. So Mobley did have to deal with Giannis, and he will have to deal with him again. So it's a bad matchup on the offensive side, but maybe more block opportunities, maybe more rebounding opportunities to go with the bad offense. So we'll see what's up. I think regardless, Dean Wade is going to be the Lauri Markkanen replacement. So it looks like they like him at the 3, and they'll probably start Ed Davis again if Allen can't go.
Yeah, their opponent last game, the Knicks, have Nerlens Noel and Mitchell Robinson, both questionable. We've seen this situation a number of times for the Knicks during the course of the season. Essentially, if one of them is able to go, they will start. If both of them are able to go, they will split the center minutes with an edge towards Mitch. If neither of them are able to go, you'll see probably Taj Gibson slide into that starting lineup. You'll see some more potential minutes for Obi Toppin and Julius Randle as they figure out ways to play those guys at the 5 and not soak up all the minutes from Taj. They've also been comfortable playing Jericho Sims at times in those backup roles as well. So a little bit dependent on opponent. The opponent tonight, Miami, is one that I don't think it would be as great of a spot for Sims. But look, Miami plays big. Like they're going to play Dwayne Dedman in those backup 5s, or Omer Yurtseven, most likely Dedman. And so Sims might be needed if they are without both Noel and Mitch tonight. What are your thoughts on the availability of Noel and Robinson?
Mitch went through shoot around, has a pretty good chance to play here. The ankle injury was never really serious, and I think if it wasn't in a back-to-back, he wouldn't have missed a game, but I think they were being careful. So I think he gets pretty close to a full workload here. Obviously, horrendous matchup against Bam Adebayo, who ripped up the Knicks in 3 games last year. So, yeah, really, really bad matchup. Don't want to go there. But expect him to play. We'll see what's up Noel. Like you said, it's almost like they're like one player, right? Just because they're like always hurt. They're always hurt at like different times, sometimes the same time as you mentioned too. So Mitch should get the lion's share, maybe Noel, but if not, they have Gibson. So I think they're covered for tonight.
Okay, let's talk about Atlanta, where DeAndre Hunter is questionable. They've got Bogdanovich as probable. So we're getting back to having Capella and Bogdanovich. Capella not on the injury report at all, but now you get DeAndre Hunter questionable. Hunter has been the guy that has been, the face of the perimeter defense for Atlanta during the course of the season, which has really tailed off this year as he's missed a lot of games. They also have Timothy Luwawu-Cabarrot questionable on the injury report as well. So some wing depth issues once again for Atlanta, facing a Sacramento team coming off of one of the worst performances in the league all year. I think Sacramento owns a couple of those. They own one against the Grizzlies. They own this one last night against Boston. And I think, the OKC Memphis game is the topper. They take the cake and lose by 75. But just an abysmal performance by Sacramento last night. Atlanta gets them tonight, and Atlanta's rested here. Hunter, do you think we see him play? And if not, who slides into the starting lineup in his spot?
I think he's got a shot to play. I just had a bad fall. They said after the game he was fine. He got iced up and everything. So just like bumps and bruises. I think he's got a pretty good shot to play here. Minutes have been good. His offensive role has been growing a little bit too. So feel pretty good about him here. Then the next question is who starts next to him if he starts, and it's typically been Bogdan. He's on a minutes limit though, so I think they might start Herder here. We'll see. That way you kind of keep Bogdan's minutes down a little naturally by bringing him off the bench. So we'll see. So a little upside coming off those guys, but I don't think Luwawu-Cabarrot really matters. They do want to take a look at Kevin Knox. So I think it's kind of irrelevant that, I basically think Knox is kind of taking Luwawu-Cabarrot's spot anyways.
Yeah. Across the court from them on Sacramento's side, no Terrence Davis tonight. De'Aaron Fox and Chimezie Metu are both questionable as well. We saw the Kings. I mean, they lost by 50
Yeah.
last night. They couldn't generate any sort of offense at all without De'Aaron Fox. I don't think De'Aaron Fox is that integral to like the Kings' success. I think it was just the Kings had a really, really bad night. Usually against Atlanta, it's been a get-right spot this year for offenses, but I'm concerned here. What are your thoughts on Fox's availability tonight?
So it's a couple of things. One, this is the ankle that he's hurt before. That was a grade 3. But Gentry said if it was like a playoff game or a game that mattered, which isn't going to happen for like 10 years for the Kings, that they would play him. Sorry, Kings fans. But so I think he's got a shot to play. Like I think yesterday he was held up because of the back-to-back. Like he should be back, but you add to the fact that there's like trade rumors and all that, they could just sit him down. Again, just being that if this was the other ankle, like I'd feel really good about him playing. But not having it there is noteworthy. And then the matchup. So if he's out, and we know that Terrence Davis is out, then I mean the question is who do you start? And for me, I mean you have to start Davion. Like you're not. I don't want to put Halliburton on Trae Young. Like this seems like you got to start Davion here to me. Yeah. So I'm excited about Davion. He obviously hasn't been playing well. Nice. Look at these minuses. Like minus 40 and 27, minus 34. Like that's so bad. But I think Davion's in a really interesting spot. I think they might even put Trae on him on both sides. So that's obviously a good spot. So if he starts, he could be a guy that I'm really excited about today.
Yeah, I think that is likely the case if Fox were out, that Davion would start and draw that assignment. Hield would be the fire plug off the bench to try to create some offense there. Yeah, we'll see if the Kings can keep it competitive tonight. On to another team on a back-to-back, Denver. Will Barton missed last night's game. It was the Jokic show once again. What's the likelihood of Barton being able to play tonight? I've been going back and forth on whether I'm going to try to like last minute make an attempt to go see this game in Brooklyn. I don't think I'm going to pull it off, but what do you think are the likelihood of seeing Will Barton tonight?
You have to go. Dank and I will be face to face, hanging out in his hotel room, working projections. It's gonna be fun. But,
a very sensual night of projections for the ETR crew.
Yes, yeah. We're not going to even need Slack. It's going to be so good. So, yeah, like you said, hamstring tightness, right, for a guy that's had hamstring issues before. Missed last game. I don't think he didn't warm up, at least based on the time when he was announced out. So, probably a pretty decent chance to sit. We're going to probably project him in, I assume we are. So, probably another Austin Rivers start there. Monte Morris, we saw him shoot the ball a ton. Didn't shoot it great, but I think he would, booking it more upside there. Obviously, Joker could hammer this front court. I mean, the Nets front court has been one of the most vulnerable in the NBA. They're playing, I think, at the fourth fastest pace in 2022. They have the worst defense in 2022. They're getting killed on the old glass. They are bad in half court, which is where the Nuggets like to make their hay. The Nuggets could really, really, really hang a big number here, even in a back-to-back.
Yeah, and obviously if Barton is unable to go, you see the usage spike kind of across the board there. I mean, Jeff Green and Aaron Gordon got involved, but I really think Monte Morris takes a big step forward in the absence of Will Barton in those games, just because he starts to become the initiator on the pick and roll stuff with Jokic, and that just leads to a lot of guys going under, a lot of those easy kind of 2s and 3s. And then also kind of the curl plays where, Jokic gets the ball on the dribble handoff and they curl around and you get some feeds there. So Monte Morris's opportunity spikes certainly there. And then, Aaron Gordon.
Quick on Aaron Gordon. Yeah, go ahead.
I was just going to say, he's been playing really, really heavy minutes of late, and the fast-paced nature of some of these Brooklyn games certainly suits his offensive skill set quite a bit as well.
Yep. Completely agree. He's been, playing a ton. Look at these assists, man. Like he has been piling them up, and it's generally been just a product of their good offense for the most part too. So, he's going to get a lot
of points on the board for the Nuggets of late. They've been putting up big numbers without Michael Porter Jr., without Jamal Murray. Hard to know what. How could it be? Who knows? Who knows how it could be? I don't know.
Someone's very valuable in this.
Maybe
situation.
They just have the most valuable player in the league. Who knows?
Yeah, maybe.
All right, let's go to Memphis, where Desmond Bane and Brandon Clark are on the injury report. And Memphis is been in and out of the health and safety protocols kind of, it seems like, for like a month essentially. Colleen Anderson is still out. Bane has the health and safety protocols tag on him, which is usually a little bit of a concern. Usually you get that tag, then the return to competition reconditioning tag. But it sounded like there was a little bit more optimism around Bane. And then Brandon Clark's questionable with back soreness. Tyus Jones still out with health and safety protocols as well. What is your expectation for Memphis tonight?
Yeah, so just quick with Tyus Jones. I mean, they are playing Morant stupid minutes, like 41 in the last game, 39 or something in the other game before that. So the headline is like, John Morant may play a stupid ton amount of minutes, and he's actually ripped up DeJounte. The last he played 3 games against DeJounte last year, missed that matchup earlier this season, and he had really big numbers against him. So that's interesting. And yeah, the Bane stuff's weird, man, because it looked like he was listed for personal, and then he got put in protocols. So I still think he's going to play, but that'll probably take a little upside off the Anthony Melton. But if he doesn't play, I mean, this feels like such a Melton spot. Like the Spurs have the number 1 pace offense in the NBA. The Grizzlies in the last 7 or 8 games, they've actually been playing faster than the Spurs have been. They've been really picking up their pace a lot, partly because Morant's been just dominating. He's putting his imprint on their offense right now. So. That's something to keep an eye on. I think Melton could be a guy if Bane misses this one. I think Zaire Williams is kind of dead anyways. John Concharo, so not a great matchup for him. I feel like this has to be a Melton spot, but we've said that before, and Melton flames out. But,
I would be surprised if they actually started Melton to go up against DeJounte and take that responsibility off of Ja's hands, which brings a little bit of volatility to Melton too, because that would bring some foul risk. DeJounte's a bigger dude, drives a lot, so there would be a little bit of foul risk there for Melton. I actually think it's a pretty interesting Jaren Jackson Jr. spot, which we'll talk about more on the show. All right, Tyler Cook, questionable for the Bulls. He's been in and out of the rotation based on who they've played of late, and specifically playing more minutes when they play big teams. Well, heck, we talked about Toronto willing to go very, very big. So Tyler Cook is actually, kind of an important thing for the Bulls rotation tonight, whether he plays or not, because I do think he would play more minutes in this matchup because of the Raptors' size. What do you think about his availability tonight?
Yeah, I don't know. Sorry for the bad answer, but yeah, we'll see. I think it is in the rotation. Obviously, if he doesn't play, that would put Tony Bradley as the backup center behind Vooch. A little bit. We'll see what Javonte Green, his minutes ceiling looks like. Did have a hard cap on him in the last game of 25, which they went right up against. Levine did not have a cap, and he looked great. Billy Donovan talked about him having, boost in his legs, and I forget what the exact term was, but minutes are going to be really good for him. And then just not injury related, he said he wants to set Ayo set the offense. Ayo, the Sumu, and he has Zach LaVine and DeMar DeRozan on his team. Like this dude, man, like rocket ships. Really impressive from Ayo that he is deaded Kobe White for that starting job. I think it's over already. He's just been balling, man. Just like massive props to Ayo.
Yeah, and I want to note here, I do think because of the matchup in itself, this probably doesn't matter much other than to hardcore NBA fans and props grinders and whatnot. But I do think you could see if Tyler Cook is healthy, you could see his minutes get into the 18 to 20 range, and you could see the minutes from Malcolm Hill, Alfonso McKinney, those guys come way down because of the matchup with the Raptor size. The Raptor size is going to force the Bulls to do some unconventional things on the back end of the rotation. So if Cook is available, I do think it's meaningful for projecting minutes for Chicago tonight. Okay, some returns to action. We talked about Bogdan Bogdanovic already. Let's talk about Tyler Hero, who got off of health and safety protocols, and they immediately said, from a conditioning standpoint, he is fine to go. He's listed as available. So we're expecting sort of a normal return to roll for Tyler Hero with Jimmy Butler back, with Max Strus playing so well, with Gabe Vincent playing well. They have so many guard options, even in the absence of Kyle Lowry, that I'm not sure Tyler Hero gets into that really high, mid to high 30s minutes upside. I think it's available to him in the best case scenario, but I think he probably settles in around 30 in his return tonight.
I think he could go up. I'd probably want to put his minutes a little higher than 30, 1 or 2, because he's been clamoring to play for 3 days, according to Spoelstra. Just couldn't clear in time. So I think he'll be pretty close to whatever his full minutes are based on the comments from Spoelstra at practice yesterday. Did go through practice. So, yeah, I think he's going to be ready to rock and roll. Still expect Gabe into the start. No Kyle Lowry. Would expect that same starting lineup again. Man, Bam has fixed Duncan Robinson. Shout out to Bam. Shout out to Duncan. So this is going to obviously dead Kyle Guy. We'll see a little bit of Caleb Martin take a hit, but it should be a pretty tight rotation. Certainly the Gabe Vincent ceiling will come down a little bit there. Hero is definitely one of the captains of Team 6. When it was pandemic time, he DM'd or messaged someone on Twitter who's a model, and he got her pregnant. Dude, what a legend. Yeah,
I think that's
so
a different
pretty
show. You're providing updates.
Yeah, I'm still in Levitan's bit, man. What am I doing? But yeah, so yeah, minutes upside to be down a little bit. Interesting matchup against a team that's like really vulnerable to threes, a little bit of size up front. I think Bam's gonna wreck them, man. I think RJ will slow down Jimmy a little bit, but I think it's gonna be the Bam show tonight.
Yeah, we'll talk more about that on the DFS show tonight.
Yeah.
With Hero, though, the thing that I'll mention is it will be a very tight rotation for them, but just with how well Duncan and Strus are playing as well, and if they're going to start Vincent, like it's going to be hard for Hero to get into the mid-30s without them really cutting someone down super, super hard. And I just don't think they're going to do that with how well these guys are playing. Like I think there's going to be a pretty long leash for how well Strus and Duncan especially because they want to get him going, and then Vincent. So I think Tyler's range tonight is like 28 to 34, 27 to 34, something like that. I think it'll be in the low 30s. Would be my guess. Yeah. Okay,
everyone's loving the sex stuff. We're comfort Levitan with
as always. All right, the Jazz. They're getting all their guys. They rested like everybody last time out. They're still without Rudy Gobert and Donovan Mitchell. So we saw Hassan Whiteside play quite a bit. It's the same matchup as last time out against Phoenix. It's a national TV game. Whiteside got up to 33 minutes in that one. You saw them play. I mean, Rudy Gay played 36 minutes. Trent Forrest played 36 minutes. It was just crazy. They were very, very shorthanded. They'll get back Conley tonight. They'll get back Joe Ingles. They'll get back Bojan Bogdanovic. So we'll have kind of a full rotation here, but no Donovan Mitchell, no Rudy Gobert. So how do you expect Utah to handle the absence of their two stars?
Yeah, we'll add that Bojan has an avulsion fracture on his left non-shooting hand. So tape it up, big man, and go to work. So we've seen him play through like all sorts. He's been like triple taped on his wrist injury that he played through for a while. So he'll tough it out. Expect him to play pretty full minutes. Daniel House played 43 minutes. And then to stick with the team sex thing, I went to this game with Dank, his fiance, and her friend, and I was like, giving him some commentary, and I was like, hey, Daniel House, you know what that guy's most famous for? Having sex with a nurse in the bubble. They were like, oh, it's so good. Like, oh, what number is he? Like, what's he like? And they were all interested. It was really cool. But so we'll see Conley start. Ingles probably start. I think Bojan's going to probably get the Mikal matchup, but like they're going to post him up a lot. I think he could play off ball. Where I think like his game may not be a guy that Mikal could slow down. But the way he plays defense, so I think he could still be an option there. Clarkson's minutes should still be pretty good, but Conley will probably get the CP3 assignment on both ends. Conley just hasn't been the same player. It's a decent Conley spot, but just so hard to get pumped about him lately. And then Hassan Whiteside will add too that short rotation. And the first two times he was out there, it was like 5 minutes, like 4 minutes, and then they really let him go to get to 33. Was looking pretty slow. Said COVID affected him, so expect pretty good minutes in the matchup against Biyombo. We'll talk about that in a second. But all these guys coming back, it's going to be dicey. But Bojan, Jordan Clarkson should be pretty big offensive options.
Yeah, on the other side of that game, no JaVale McGee tonight. So expect Bismack, in addition to no DeAndre Ayton, in addition to no Jay Crowder, so the front court gets thinned out. Expect Bismack Biyombo to draw the start, Jalen Smith to play all the backup 5 minutes. Really big ceiling minutes for the Phoenix guys here. We saw them last game. Chris Paul get up to 40, Devin Booker 38, Cam Johnson 38, Bridges 35. They can play these guys a ton because they don't have a lot of depth behind them that they're comfortable with. No campaign either. So you get into Elfrid Payton as the backup point guard minutes. They're not super comfortable there. You get backup wings of Landry Shamet, Ish Wainwright, not super comfortable there with their options. Yeah. So you could see really high minute ceilings for the Suns. And we know that Utah has really struggled defensively in the absence of Rudy Gobert this season. So Suns guys are going to be interesting spots to look at tonight, even with elevated price tags. And certainly Bismack Biyombo will be one of the focal points in terms of value on the slate. With no competition for playing time really there in front of him, and a matchup against Whiteside that his size in particular should be necessary comparatively to Jalen Smith.
Yeah, I'll add that Monty Williams said he wanted to keep Chris Paul in the low 30s, and 40. National TV, right? That's one of my favorite things to talk about. Chris Paul always plays more on national TV based on my unofficial bookkeeping, so keep an eye on that. So they're going to try to keep him down. Like Monty was like looking at, you could see his reaction. He like, didn't really know that it was 40 minutes. You just see him look at the stat sheet. It's like he like literally hit himself in the head. Like, what did I do this for? So I think they're going to try to keep him, like 35. Nothing outrageous there. But we know Ish Wainwright backed up Cam Johnson. They'll bring Jalen Smith back in to back up Biyombo. But Biyombo, they play him really long rotations. unlike McGee, who has asthma and can't play long minutes. So, I mean, Biyombo might play a ton here. So he's going to be, as you mentioned, the matchup is really good. So expect a lot there. Devin Booker also ran the point in the few minutes that Chris Paul wasn't on the court.
Yeah.
It was Devin Booker bringing the ball up and really setting the offense up. So really big upside for him. And man, 35 shots for him. He's had 40+ usage rate in 2 of the last 4 games. He has been bombing away lately. He probably wants to make a little MVP run. That's what everyone wants to do, but they have no chance against Joker.
And I don't know if it's all the sex talk, but the comment section is really on fire today with you, Mike. They want more season-long podcasts from you. You are the best.
I know.
I agree. But Tiberius, you should check out the Established Run NBA podcast, award nominated by the FSWA as the best fantasy podcast in the business, led by Mike Gallagher with all of the 3-ball episodes. And then we record once a week on Thursdays with a season-long NBA kind of general focus. We will be upping those to twice a week as we get going here after health and safety protocol season had us back down to once a week. So check out the Established Run NBA podcast feed for everything you're looking for on the season-long side.
I was actually thinking, because I want to hang out with Dank tonight, so I was thinking I might just do like a little pod that's like season-long centric instead of doing recap 3-ball. So might do that.
That's what the people want.
Yeah, man.
Some other injury report notes that we'll just leave you with before we get out of here, as we're coming up against our 30 minutes allotment. Nick Batum, not on the injury report, very skeptical of Clippers injury reporting on the whole. Any notes you want to add there?
Lot to add. So we saw 8 minutes from Batum, got pulled out. Ty Lue says after the game that he had back spasms. This dude, how old is he now? Like 33, right? I mean, this dude ain't playing today, man. Like, he's going to get added to the injury report. I honestly would be surprised if he plays. So keep an eye on that. We saw Terrence Mann start for Marcus Morris and seemed pretty comfortable with that. And then obviously we saw Reggie Jackson, Zubats, and then Batum is also get cut down. Didn't play in the second half. Lou basically said it's kind of a new day. He'll, basically put what's behind him. Said these guys didn't have a lot of pop when they were playing, and he did like how these guys played. I mean, Jay Scrubb was really good. Kennard was amazing. Obviously, the shot at the end of the game. So dicey situation. Eric Bledsoe started the third quarter, played I want to say 6 minutes, and then he just got eliminated from the rotation as they played all these bench guys. Like, it was Justice Winslow handling the ball a little bit, but really, really, really messy rotation. Tons of shots from Amir Coffey. And again, like, keep an eye on the Clippers. Thankfully, they're playing right away, but there's something's going to come up, man. Whether it's Reggie Jackson or something, just be aware that something may change on the Clippers.
Some other notes in the late games. Always got to watch out for Dallas on the second night of a back-to-back with Kristaps Porzingis. You also had a note on Luka's ankle roll. Any concerns there, or do you think Luka will likely be good to go?
I think Luka's okay. So just the background on that. Jordan Poole fell into him, and his ankle went kind of not bad, but that's his bad ankle. So I think if anyone who has a bad injury history and gets hit, I have a bad left knee. Anyone hits my left knee with the slightest tap, I'm like, oh no, But so I think that's kind of what happened. But keep an eye on him. Kristaps not an injury report. We saw light minutes because he got ejected from him in a blowout. So it should be up to speed here. Obviously, Tim Hardaway Jr. is out with a foot fracture. Tough scene. Jalen Brunson has dominating per 36 stats when he's without Luka and THJ. So expect him to put up some really big numbers. But besides that, Josh Green, a.k.a. you should have drafted Desmond Bane. He probably gets some minutes. We'll see Trey Burke probably get in the mix as well. But honestly, not a lot of big takeaways from THJ, which sounds kind of crazy for a guy that makes as much offensive production as he does.
And then on the opposite side, Portland, Nasir Little and Rocco, some question marks there going into tonight.
Yeah, they're not injured. I don't think they're getting on the injury report, but back-to-back. Nasir Little's injury looked terrible. He got tied up under Cat. His arm went way above his head. And his arm was hanging, going to the locker room, returned, played the last closing minutes of the game. So he should be okay, but keep an eye on that. Rocco as well got a little dinged up. Trade rumors going about with Rocco too. So, maybe they're a little bit cautious there if he's not feeling up to snuff. But, really interesting game here with the way the Blazers are playing a little bit better now. The Mavericks defense, man, they are playing awesome right now. So pretty excited for the couple late games we got here.
All right. Well, that'll do it for today's long injury report and an injury analysis show. Tomorrow will be much shorter with just 2 games on the slate. If you are interested in joining us behind the paywall tonight at 5 o'clock Eastern, perhaps with more team sex jokes, who knows? I mean, it is behind the paywall on the internet. If you're paying for something on the internet, it's usually sex or sex jokes. So come see Gary Hartman and I deliver it all along with NBA DFS analysis tonight at 5 o'clock Eastern, establishedrun.com. Get your premium subscription. If you are not interested in subscribing, at least give us the subscribe on this YouTube channel as we continue to try to drive viewership and deliver this free content to you each and every Monday through Friday at 2 o'clock Eastern time. We'll be back tomorrow for another edition of Established Run's NBA Injury Report Analysis Show. For just the two gamer, will be a quick show tomorrow. For everybody out there watching the NBA tonight, enjoy the games. Salute your MVP, Nikola Jokic, and we will see you again tomorrow.